A Yreka couple, the mother arrested has been released while the father is still in custody. He's now being held without bail. News 10 at 11 starts now.
You're watching News 10, your connection in Southern Oregon and Northern California. This is News 10 at 11.
Good evening, I'm Brian Schnee. Thank you for joining us. A pre-trial is now set for Stephanie Hayes and Joshua Na, the parents arrested for allegedly abusing their 2-month-old twins Monday. Both parents say they're innocent. News 10's Genevieve Grippo has been following this case. She's joining us on the desk tonight to talk about today's arraignment. Now, Genevieve, that arraignment was this afternoon. What was the biggest takeaway?
Well, there's really two main big takeaways here. Both of them appeared before the court. And some of those really big developments here is that, Hayes is no longer in custody, which is a huge thing. The judge released her today on her own recognizance. He did not consider her to be a flight risk, and the prosecution even said that at this time, they don't believe she was the one who personally inflicted injury on her kids. But with that, something that became pretty clear in court is that it's really Na that the emphasis is being put on in this case. We talked last night about the fact that Na has already been convicted of child abuse back in 2002. Despite that, his defense also asked for him to be released today. This is what Judge William Davis had to say.
It does appear to the court that there is clear and convincing evidence that there is a substantial likelihood that Mr. Na's release would result in great bodily harm to others. So he is ordered held without bail.
So Na is being held without bail. What are the exact charges he's facing?
Well, Brian, it's a slew of charges, really. That includes multiple counts of great bodily harm to a child, aggravated mayhem, and corporal injury of a child. Hayes is facing multiple charges of injury to a child. One thing that was brought up in court today is that Hayes is legally blind. Court staff said that because of that, she's, quote, not perhaps as aware of what happens in a home as others might be. And just to be clear, both Na and Hayes today pleaded not guilty to all of those charges that they're facing.
Now, both say they're not guilty. Hayes is being released. What happens now with those children? So, unfortunately, it was 2-month-old twins are the ones who are allegedly victims in this case. One has a major skull fracture and brain injury. The other also has a brain injury. So I spoke with police about this yesterday. They told me the one with the skull fracture was hooked up to a breathing machine and was in critical condition at UC Davis Medical Center. The other was still at the hospital as well. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any updated information on their conditions as of today, but per judge's orders, it looks like Hayes will get to have supervised visits with her kids. The judge did say that Nas would not get those same privileges. During the arraignment, the prosecution said they have reason to believe that this alleged child abuse was not a one-time thing in their home. Here's Deputy Attorney 3 Michael Desjardins.
Information that I have is that it is quite likely that rather severe abuse had been happening in the home for some time. The physicians who treated the victims opined that some of the injuries were older and yet still fresh.
So what's next for this case? Well, the judge has scheduled a pre-trial that's happening April 9th at 8:30 in the morning. But in the meantime, Joshua Na is going to remain in custody. The DA is going to be in charge of prosecuting this case, and we're going to be following along right with them. All right, Genevieve, thank you so much for joining us. A recording of this entire arraignment is on our Facebook page. We also have continuing coverage of this case on our website at ktvl.com. Meanwhile, family members of Stephanie Hayes are defending her. As News 10's Marissa O'Lead reports, her adopted sister says there is more to the story.
She loves her children. Her children have always come first. She would never hurt a kid.
Sarah Wade described her adopted sister as loving, someone who believes in God and believes that people have second, even third chances. Stephanie Hayes, the mother of the twin children, was taken into custody earlier this week after the hospital notified Yreka police of the child's head injury. Although Hayes is legally blind, family believes and trusts that she would never hurt her children.
She could parent by her love, by being right up close to her kids. Like I said, she's watched my own kids for me, and I've trusted her with my own children because I know how she can cope.
According to family members, Hayes has gotten help in the past in helping raise her children due to her disability. However, for unknown reasons, she has been secluded from family and friends. Wade says that there is reason to believe her adopted sister is caught up in the accusations due to fear from her partner. but adds that if she is in the right living situation, she can handle anything.
I want her to know that she is still loved. She still has us. And we will never give up on her.
As we mentioned earlier today, Stephanie Hayes was released and is set for a pretrial on April 9th. Here's a live look over the city of Medford with our Mount Baldy sky cam. Light rain and snow showers continue over parts of our southern Oregon and northern California region this evening. News 10 Chief Meteorologist Milt Radford is here with a quick look at your first alert forecast.
That's right. We're still seeing some of these showers come in off the Pacific. They've been heaviest around the coastal areas this evening, and still a little bit of snow over some areas over the Cascades and into parts of Northern California this evening. Here's a look at the total rain amounts we've had over the last 24 hours. Almost an inch of rain near Crescent City and a little more than a half inch in Brookings, and of course still adding to that this evening. Inland, it's been a pretty light total for today, just trace amounts around Medford. Winds still a bit gusty, especially out at the coast where they're getting that southwesterly flow, also bringing that rain into the area. As we look at low temperatures tonight, most places inland will be in the 30s, about 40 degrees in Medford. We'll have around 43, 44 degrees out toward the coast. Some slightly warmer temperatures return tomorrow. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at your weekend forecast.
Springtime means you could be seeing some new wildlife around, and there are a few things to keep in mind. As deer migrate back into high country, ODFW says you could see a spike in deers crossing the road, so drive carefully. And don't confront one if you see one in person. They can sometimes be aggressive. Spring also means black bears coming out and potentially into urban communities like Medford and Ashland in search of food.
But the main thing right now is that bears are will be coming out of hibernation. Probably we'll start seeing more bear damage, and then later in the summer we'll get a lot of peak bear activity, so people should be mindful of their food waste, their garbage.
Also be mindful that animals may be traveling with their young and will be extra protective, but regardless, exercise caution near wildlife, giving them space while not making yourself look like prey by running away. New tonight at 11 o'clock, following a 2-month investigation, Medford police, with the help from Jackson County Sheriff's Office, busted a 6,000 plant illegal marijuana grow yesterday with a street value of nearly $8 million. They arrested the head of the operation, Beverly Hills man Salih Samola, for unlawful possession, delivery, and manufacture of marijuana, as well as money laundering. Salome was running the illegal operation in a warehouse in White City and exporting out of state.
We heard about it, we investigated, we actually bought marijuana out of the location, confirmed it wasn't licensed, it wasn't legal, and when we did our search warrant, we saw that it was very large.
Lieutenant Mike Boudreau says illegal operations like this not only creates extra crime, but also undercut local law-abiding businesses. While this seizure is a big win, Boudreau says more black market grows are out there. MPD and the Sheriff's Office have a local task force called IMET to tackle the problem, which assisted MPD's existing marijuana enforcement team in this investigation. Earlier today, Oregon lawmakers and the public weighed in on a series of bills that aim to bring leniency to teenagers convicted of Measure 11 crimes. The bills aim to do a number of things, like introduce parole options for young convicts and make sure a convicted youth gets a hearing before they are transferred to adult state prison. The majority of public voiced strong support for these bills, and crime victims and their families say they have been completely left out of the process.
There's going to be a price to pay, and it's not going to be a political price, it's going to be a moral price. Because when they cut these sentences, the crime rate's going to go up. We're going to have blood in the streets.
Steve Dole, whose daughter was killed by a 16-year-old in 1992, says he believes the people advocating for the change are treating criminals like victims. The panhandling ordinance for Josephine County was voted unanimously in last week's meeting and will go into effect on June 25th. The ordinance is modeled after similar laws in Medford. It specifies goods and/or funds transferred between a pedestrian and a driver in a moving vehicle are illegal on the road unless parked in a designated parking spot, meaning transients may be able to stop at rest areas.
We have dogs. We want to come out here. We don't really want to be bothered with someone bothering us. If we want to take our dogs out, we want to come here and use the restroom, stretch our legs. that's what the rest area is for. I mean, that's really, I think that might disrupt it a little bit maybe.
According to the county, those breaking the panhandling ordinance is considered a Class D violation. The fees for anyone who partakes in the action will range anywhere from a minimum of $65 to a maximum of $250 at a judge's discretion. Both the driver and panhandler can be cited. Rogue Retreat is looking to expand their downtown clean sweep program to Ashland. The program aims to provide a service for the community while giving homeless participants job skills. The program has been so successful that now Rogue Retreat has applied for grant funding for the city of Ashland. Development Director Matthew Vorderstrass says the program has made an overall positive impact.
What we're finding is that with the work that we're doing, many different communities around us are beginning to come to us and wanting us to expand our services into other communities. So not only with Clean Sleep, but also with shelter and housing programs.
Vorderstrass hopes that as a program grows, it can also offer participants wages for their work, but the experience alone has proven valuable, with 2 participants so far receiving full employment elsewhere with the skills they've gained. Still ahead tonight on News 10 at 11 o'clock, President Trump returns to the campaign trail. Coming up, the message to his supporters in his first rally since the Mueller report. Milt?
The mountains will see a couple more inches of snow overnight. Later, we'll take a look at when we'll see some of the heavier amounts of snow possibly return.